I'm 62 years old, and I'm recording this from a $10 room in Manila with one ceiling fan and a shared bathroom down the hall. I came to the Philippines with $350,000. Every cent I earned across 32 years as a logistics supervisor in Columbus, Ohio. I left with a plastic bag, two shirts, a pair of cargo pants, my passport, my social security card. The rest of it, the savings account, the retirement fund, the $60,000 house I built in the province, every bit of it is gone. And here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. It did not happen because I was stupid. I managed multi-million-dollar freight operations for 3 decades. I made a spreadsheet before I moved here. I did months of research. And a 26-year-old woman named Joy still dismantled every dollar I had, piece by piece, over 16 months, with the patience and precision of someone who had been trained to do exactly that. If you are 60 years old or 65 or anywhere near retirement age, and you have a nest egg, and you have been watching expat videos and thinking about making a move to Southeast Asia, hit subscribe right now. This channel exists because I am broken and you do not have to be. I am going to show you step by step in complete detail exactly how I lost everything. Stay until the end. I want to start at the actual beginning, not where most men tell the story. Most men start with the scam. I need to start earlier because the scam doesn't begin when the first money leaves your account. It begins in a quiet apartment in Columbus, Ohio, at 11 o'clock at night, watching a YouTube video of some 63-year-old guy eating a full meal on a balcony overlooking the ocean for $4. I took early retirement in 2022. My company had what they called a restructuring. 32 years of service, and they handed me a severance letter and a handshake and told me my position was being eliminated. After the severance settled and my retirement accounts were rolled over, I had $350,000. Not a fortune, but a real number. A real future if managed carefully. I also had a 2-bedroom apartment in Columbus, a microwave dinner habit, and absolutely nothing waiting for me each morning when I woke up. My wife and I had divorced 6 years before. My 2 kids had moved to different cities, building their own lives, which was exactly what I'd raised them to do. I was 60 years old and completely invisible. The expat content found me through the algorithm. First it was 1 video, then 20, then 200 hours over 6 months. Men my age, living in the Philippines on $1,200 a month. Motorcycles through mountain roads. Fresh fruit for pennies. Women who cooked breakfast and laughed easily and seemed genuinely glad to have a man around. I am not going to apologize for being drawn to that, because I think if you are watching this channel, you understand exactly what I mean. I wasn't chasing something shameful. I was chasing the feeling of mattering again. I ran the numbers seriously. With my savings generating conservative returns, plus my eventual Social Security payment, I could live very well in the Philippines for the rest of my life. More than well. I joined forums, read legal guides, researched visa categories, mapped out healthcare costs. I was methodical. Then I joined a marriage-focused Filipino dating site and posted an honest profile. American, 60, retired, looking for a genuine long-term relationship with a family-oriented woman. Joy messaged me on a Thursday evening. She had read my entire profile. She referenced things I had written, my hometown, my mention of wanting a quiet life, my comment about missing real conversation. She was 26, from Leyte province, working an office job. Her photos showed a modest, plainly dressed woman, no heavy makeup, no revealing clothes. Just a real-looking person who asked, in her first message, what Columbus was like in winter. Had I ever seen a really big snowstorm? She had always wanted to see snow. I wrote back immediately. We talked every night for 4 months. She prayed before our calls sometimes. She cried once when I described my divorce and said she was sorry I had been lonely. She never asked about money, not once, not for 4 months. When I flew to Manila in the spring, she was standing in the arrivals hall with a small bouquet of flowers she had clearly spent real money on, calling me Mahal, beloved, holding my arm as we walked out into the heat and the noise and the diesel smell of Manila traffic. I felt 25 years younger. I felt chosen. I had no idea she had been studying me for 4 months, building a profile, running a play she had probably run before and would run again. The first family emergency arrived 23 days into my visit. We were eating at a Turo restaurant in her hometown, the kind with food already cooked behind a glass counter, 20 pesos a scoop, plastic tables under a tin roof. Her phone rang. She stepped outside. She came back quiet, fork moving rice around her plate without eating. I asked what was wrong. Her tone was matter-of-fact, almost apologetic. Her uncle had collapsed at the farm. He was at the provincial hospital. The deposit before admission was 12,000 pesos, about $200. She wasn't asking me for it. She was just telling me what was happening. I want you to notice the distinction, because it is load-bearing. She did not cry. She did not beg. She presented the situation with a kind of dignified resignation, like a woman who was used to hard things and expected nothing. That restraint made me want to help more than any amount of crying could have. I paid immediately. She looked at me with quiet gratitude that I carried around for the next week. I understand now what I did not understand then. The non-dramatic delivery is the technique. Tears trigger suspicion. Dignified need triggers the ego. It makes you feel like a provider, a protector, a man of substance. That feeling is the product they are actually selling you. The money is just the transaction. The second emergency came 6 weeks later. Tuition for the youngest sibling, or she would lose the semester. $300. The third, the neighbor's tricycle. The family relied on it for income, needed engine parts. $250. Then a typhoon season roof repair on the province house. $900. Then dental work for Joy's mother that could not wait. $400. Then seed capital for a small sari-sari store the family wanted to start for supplemental income. $600. Each request was spaced just far enough apart that I was never thinking about a pattern. I was thinking about an uncle, then a sibling, then a neighbor, then a roof. Each one was plausible. Each one was human. Each one came wrapped in enough specific detail, the name of the hospital, the receipt from the hardware store, the photo of the collapsed roofing, to feel real. I kept no running total. That is not an accident on their part. The absence of totals is part of the design. 8 months in, I had moved approximately $90,000 through Joy's family in transactions that averaged $300 to $900 each. I want you to hold that number. $90,000 gone in less than a year, and at no single point did I feel like I was doing something alarming. Joy's family welcomed me completely. Her mother called me son within the first hour of our first formal dinner. Her brothers shook my hand and asked about America. The home smelled of garlic rice and adobo and something frying. Kids ran between the legs of the adults. The afternoon light was golden through the open windows. I sat at that table and felt, for the first time in years, that I had a family again. That feeling, that specific warmth, was the most expensive thing they ever sold me. I want to say something about the province house idea specifically, because I think the way it was introduced tells you a lot about the precision of the whole operation. It was not Joy who first mentioned building, it was her mother. At that Sunday dinner, while Joy was in the kitchen, her mother sat next to me and talked quietly about how much the family had always hoped Joy would settle somewhere permanent, how unstable rental life was in the province, how land prices were still affordable compared to the city. She said it the way grandmothers say things, softly, without urgency, like she was just sharing her feelings. I filed it away. A month later, Joy mentioned, offhandedly, that her family's land would be a beautiful place for a home someday. She said she had grown up playing in those fields and always imagined a small house there. She wasn't asking, she was just remembering out loud. 6 weeks after that, I brought it up myself. I said, "What if we built something there?" Her eyes went wide like I had surprised her completely. She said she had never dared to dream about that. I felt like I had done something generous and spontaneous. What I had done was follow a script that had been running for 3 months without my awareness. The decision to build the house came 14 months in. Joy's family had land in the province. A couple of acres outside a quiet town, palm trees, rice paddies at the edge, a small stream. I had walked that land a dozen times by then. I had stood in the early morning mist, imagining the veranda, the open kitchen, the view of the mountains. I knew the Philippine property law. Foreigners cannot own land. I had read it in my first month of research. What I had not absorbed was what it meant when the woman I trusted most in the world was the one in whose name the deed would have to go. I hired a Filipino contractor, supervised the build over 4 months. Foundation, walls, roof, tile floors, finished kitchen, perimeter wall, gate. $60,000, every bill paid by me. Joy Marie Santos on the deed. Robert Allen Mercer, nowhere. Moving-in day was February. I stood on that finished veranda in the late afternoon with a cold San Miguel beer, and I looked at the rice fields turning gold in the lowering sun, and I thought, this is it. After 60 years, I built something permanent. I was genuinely happy. I think that matters to say, because I want you to understand I was not a man stumbling around in the dark. I was a man who believed he had arrived. The dismantling started quietly about 3 months after we moved in. Joy began spending nights at her mother's house, 2 or 3 per week, to help with the household. My calls went longer between replies. A male cousin appeared at the property, just visiting, she said, and I came home one afternoon to find him in my kitchen, eating food from my refrigerator, and Joy telling me, for the first time with an edge in her voice, that I needed to respect family customs. I apologized. I actually apologized. That moment tells you everything about where my head was. The morning of the lockout, I had gone walking along the rice field road at 6:30 in the morning, the way I did every day. I came back at 7:15 to find a padlock on the front door I had paid to install. My phone showed a text from Joy. The house was in her name. She was exercising her legal right to occupy it. My personal items were in a bag outside the gate. I stood on that dirt road, the road I walked every morning, outside the gate I had paid to build, and looked at a plastic bag containing 2 shirts, cargo pants, my passport, and a social security card. My laptop was inside. My remaining cash was inside. Everything else I owned was inside a house I had no legal right to enter. I was 62 years old. I had $300 in my wallet. I had nowhere to go. That was 18 months ago. Here is what my life looks like now, and I am telling you this plainly because I think the plainness is the only thing that might actually reach you. I live in a $10 a night room in Manila. Plywood bed frame, foam mattress, 1 ceiling fan, shared bathroom. My monthly Social Security check covers basic survival in this city because this city is cheap. If I were in Columbus, that check would not pay my electricity bill. I cannot go home. There is no home to go to. I surrendered my lease before I left, sold my furniture, moved here permanently. $350,000 and 16 months later, I live in a room slightly larger than a walk-in closet, and I count my daily meals. Joy is living in my house with a Filipino man her own age. I know this through a contact of a contact, someone who knows her family. I have since learned that this man was present throughout our entire relationship, that she maintained regular contact with him, that the plan was coordinated from the beginning, that my house was always the target. She still maintains an active profile on the same dating site. She is 28 now. There are reports, I cannot verify them, that I was not the first. The money I transferred to her family over those 8 months is gone. I gave it voluntarily. There is no legal mechanism to recover it. The house is in her name by Philippine property law, and there is no civil claim available to me. I sat across from a Filipino attorney 3 months after the lockout. He was kind. He was honest. He told me I had nothing. He was correct. Here is my warning, and I am going to say it as directly as I know how. If you are dreaming about the Philippines, if you have been watching the same videos I watched, if there is a woman who has been calling you every night and remembering everything you say and praying before your video calls, you are not in a romance. You are in a transaction, and you are the only party who does not know the terms yet. The family emergencies are scripted. The property law is the trap door. The warmth and the welcome and the golden afternoon light are real, but they are also tools, and the people who are skilled at using them have been doing it far longer than you have been dreaming about it. I am not asking you to stop dreaming. I am asking you to subscribe to this channel and watch every single video before you pack a bag. Share this video with every man you know who is 60 years old and has a retirement account and has been spending too many late nights talking to a Filipino woman online. That man needs this more than anything else right now. I am 62, I am broke, and I am telling you from a $10 room in Manila that it did not have to be this way. Do not become what I became.